There's no escaping. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to You, Me, and YTV. There's the image, and here is me. How's it going, everybody? I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. And you know it's Wednesday, and Wednesday is a day that I just choke on my own member berries, and we go back in time, and we celebrate the past and think about the future. And what's fun about the past and the future is they both coincide. We have Back to the Future 2 today, because not only are we talking about the past, but we are also talking about the what is coming up with everything we love. Well, it's continuing. If you love Phil, if you love SNit, those two gentlemen, Phil Guerrero and Atul, are going to be having more adventures. We're going to be talking about it today on You, Me, and YTV. I have a fancy intro. I should play an intro. I never play the intro, and I should. But in the spirit of YTV, we're going to do this a little rough, a little loose, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Fuck you, Fox Kids.
Did you grow up in Canada? Were you alive in the 90s? Did you love YTV? Yeah, you did.
You know, it's funny, guys. I was saying, like, fuck you, Fox Kids. And that's just out of Canadian jealousy, because it seems that the memories of Fox Kids are alive and well on Google and YouTube. And until you've been on the air for 100,000 hours of SNit, and I can only get these little bits. But everybody out there, some people are not familiar with the man behind the teeth and the Google and the eyes and the monitor, Atul Rao. It is an honor to have you back on the show. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Busy, but good.
Awesome. And right on my internet right, I should say. This gets a little confusing. We have Rob Tosh here. Rob Tosh, you are you're basically, well, you know what? Actually, tell the internet how you know this wacky duo that we all know of Phil.
Well, I know them. I watched them in the 90s when I was younger. And I had the opportunity of producing numerous TV shows for kind of local television. And I had the opportunity of teaming these guys back up in a show that aired on Rogers called Public Access TV. And we're going to be bringing it back on a new platform. Actually, it's kind of airing right now.
All right.
Those were good times, man. We had some good times doing that.
Yeah, we actually have some funny clips. You know what? Let's let the audience, let's give them a little taste of what public access TV was and why it was so darn funny. Here we go. Here's one clip I find particularly hilarious. Let's see.
Homies, I know you're sitting on that couch. It's 12 p.m. You're sitting around doing nothing. Get off the couch. Get an education. What about the Phil Guerrero Institute? Come on, stop playing with your life. Do something. This is the Phil Guerrero Institute. You can also get a doctorate.
I remember when we shot that.
A PhD. That's right, homie. Come on, get off that couch. I see you. You're sitting on the couch. It's 1 p.m. Why are you sitting on a couch? Who's paying your rent? It's time for you to pay your rent. Get a master's degree at the Phil Guerrero Institute. Get off the couch. It's the afternoon. You know Oprah's on after me, plus some judge show. Aren't you getting sick of doing that every day? Aren't you sick of all these kinds of commercials that remind you that you're unemployed or a mother? Master's degree is $34.95 at the Phil Guerrero Institute. Get education at the Phil Guerrero Institute.
That's a really familiar song. I like it. You clearly are familiar with free songs that you can use on the internet. I've been doing this show so long. I'm a musician, and I could write music for this, but I had an idea 6 years ago, and I just stuck with it. I'm like, I'm living in the past while talking about the past.
That's awesome. All that up the top of his head. It was brilliant when we were filming it. It's like we were just killing ourselves. You just spouted all that off. It was just something he wanted to do. He's like, hey, let's do this now. And then we just shot it. And then Corey, who was one of our editors and camera guys then, he edited it all together. And he's the one that did the baby explosion. And if you look at the doctorate certificate, the signature for Phil, it's like Corey wrote it like it was a 8-year-old typewriting their name. Hilarious. It was funny. It was so nice to see that together. But that's like Phil would do random stuff like that. And we would just make it work.
What I really, and I'm just making sure my internet connection is good. I'm sure it is. And if it's not, you guys could improvise until I get back. I might have to leave the room, but I'm going to leave you guys with telling the story. Tell me exactly how the two of you met.
Well, I met in a meeting with Phil and Atul, I think. But Atul, what was your experience coming into public access TV? Because I was communicating with Phil mostly.
Well, Phil called me up, and we'd already I had I was back for a while. I was back in Ontario after being away for 10 years. And so we got back in touch. We're hanging around a lot. And then he called me up and said, hey, man, there's this guy who's really interested in having us do stuff together. We should do it. And so then I was totally excited. And I said, yeah, let's do it. That'd be amazing. And so he said, well, let's go meet him. And I think we can't. I do remember a meeting.
We had a meeting of some sort.
Yeah. And we went to you had that garage studio just over, sort of east end of downtown.
Yeah.
And it was, and we just sort of hung out and talked for a bit, and we talked about the plans, and then we just said, okay, we'll just do it. And I had my son had made this the eyeball thing.
Yeah, I still got it.
Yeah, I know. I tried to get that off of you a while ago. Do you remember?
Yeah, I have it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Because I remember once I called you. I said, hey, I want to get that eyeball thing back. And then they said, oh, yeah, come by on this date. And I found your studio. It was you were in downtown Toronto at that point.
I'm still downtown, yeah.
Are you? And I thought, how's this guy affording this with the rents down here? But okay, you must be doing great. And then I knocked on the door. Nobody was there. It was like, Rob, nobody there. So I drove all the way back to Burlington.
You just heard the sound of a dog from behind the gate, like, and you're like, giving back my eyes.
I want my eyes. Yeah. Anyway, this would be a great opportunity for me to get those back again.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you want them, they're yours.
Oh yeah, the shoot. I'm looking forward to the shoot. So this is the first time Rob and I've actually talked about this. We just sort of texted back and forth. So Rob, tell me, what do you have plans for it? What's the plan for the shoot?
So basically what we're going to be doing kind of new stuff with SNIT, and then we're going to be doing an interview with you. I think we're going to talk about kind of the history a little bit and get some information, some inside information. There's tons of stuff that we shot when we were doing public access TV that's never aired, and some of it we weren't allowed to air. So we're going to be airing all of that stuff. Finally, especially those stories. You guys talked about so many stories about kind of YTV back in the day, things that I wasn't allowed to put on TV that we could release online now on the new platform.
What did we say?
all good things, all funny things. You guys tried to avoid using names usually. But I think there's a clip I provided as well that kind of has you guys talking about the YTV days and some of your,
those were amazing times. I'll tell you, Phil, the YTV was like it's like a family, but Phil and I had a dynamic. There was different dynamics with different people there. It was just like, it was a free for all of creativity, and Phil was just hilarious. I was a sidekick on the air, but I was also a sidekick off the air.
Well, Phil's like one of those, there's always kind of like this team where it's like, this is the guy that knows how everything works. And then this is the guy that is just lighting in a bottle, and you just got to let him do it. All
Phil is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All partnerships. Like, you can't quite explain Keith Richards, but when he does what he does, it's like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah.
Speaking of, how is he alive? Like, seriously, 2 years, pandemic, all this stuff. You hear about all these rock stars. Every time a rock star dies, I'm like, but what about Keith Richards? You know what I mean?
It's something, and I think all that booze like pickled him. He might not be alive. He just might be like, I don't know. Who knows? But some people have the genes, I guess. You always hear about people who just,
yeah, the rest of us wear shorts. Okay, guys. So, Atul, I gotta ask you. Like, you guys had mentioned that I want both of your perspectives of this. You both remember filming public access. So, what was a favorite segment of yours that you guys filmed back then that people could possibly find on the public access TV.ca YouTube page?
Oh boy, you know what? I don't know if you can. Maybe that's more of a Rob question, because I just remember. I remember having a whole lot of laughs doing it. Like, it was really fun. We both laughed our asses off doing it, and got pretty high doing it as well. That's one thing we never did on YTV. We actually never got high on YTV, believe it or not. It was we were always sober, but we were just high on life. But on Rob's show, it was a free for all. It didn't matter.
Yeah. After the first day of shooting, I realized that you can't. Phil's going to do what Phil's going to do. Atul is amazing, super talented, unbelievable. He's able to kind of keep going, keep Phil on track like nobody can.
I'll be right with you guys in a second. Hold on.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem. And it was really enjoyable kind of producing and directing that show. But one of the kind of episodes that was my most favorite was actually one that I wasn't there for the production of. And Phil made the whole episode about how I'm not there and all the things that they can do now that I'm not like supervising them. And the whole episode is them just literally kind of like cracking jokes about how, I'm not there. I'm in an important meeting that's too important for the show. And, they're just like ripping me a new one. And that's probably one of my favorite episodes where he kind of just goes crazy.
Cool. All right, everybody out there, if you are watching this and you have any questions or comments or any questions about how you can see public access TV, in fact, I should probably write that down. I could write that down. You know what, Rob? I'm going to write that down.
Sure.
I'm going to say watch public access TV. And it's publicaccesstv.ca, right? Like that is the
it is.
site.
And
what's the definitive way to watch this?
Well, right now, all the episodes are airing on kind of an online broadcaster. It's called Viewistic. So It's just the word view and istic together.com. And it's basically, it has a broadcast TV platform, and public access TV isn't just a show on their platform. It's an entire digital channel that loops 24 hours a day. And right now we've loaded it with all of our previous episodes, and we're going to start putting new content on there very soon as well.
And Viewistic is VIEWISTIC?
Yep. .com.
Cool. Just making sure.
And that's where it's living right now. That's where it's going to live for a while. And then we're going to be building its own kind of website for the show again, because we're bringing it back to life. We got like a new broadcaster on board with us. We got a bit of money this time, which we didn't really have before. Ooh. So I'm gonna bribe Atul and Phil to come back and more hijinks.
Have you made any progress on getting Phil back? Because I know he's getting very busy with his new gigs.
He's like Bill Murray. You never know if he's going to show up, and it's just about getting him excited at the right time. I think he's going to show. He's going to show up, but we're starting with the tool. We're going to bring him in, and then
oh my god, Phil Guerrero. Phil is the Bill Murray of YTV.
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
Bill Murray is the Phil Guerrero of movies.
There you go. I like that.
But he'll be back. I'm really confident. We're gonna have some more fun. And that was the thing. It was really fun doing the show. They had a hell of a time doing it. And it's magic when the two of them are together. It's just like you have two of the most talented people that should be millionaires, billionaires. And we need to get them back together. We need to be doing more of this good stuff. And
what was crazy about back then is like I didn't know what was going to happen, and we just got on. You put the cameras on, and it was exactly like it used to be. I couldn't believe it. It was just the same banter, the same kind of thing. And even Phil was saying, it feels like we never stopped doing this. This is like 15 years later.
So here's a shot of you guys doing it in the present. And this is, in the past, of course. But I also like the fact that you kept SNIT even on the same slide. Or what do you call this creation? He can't be called SNIT, right? Because
we just called a tool.
Somebody was asking.
Yeah, why not name it a tool? That's who it is, really. Yeah. It's a tool, right? And then we didn't do the voice pitch shifting either. We allowed a tool to have his real voice. So it's him. It's always been him. It's just they hide him behind a puppet.
Speaking of this puppet, I mean, just for legal reasons, I'm sure you could not recreate SNIT like in the 90s, of course. But Andy was asking this, and I just want to make sure I formally ask you guys before we obviously say, YTV owns SNIT, even though it's footage of SNit is in a warehouse, like at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, never to be seen again. But yeah,
we
no.
don't know. Yeah, we don't know what happened to the original SNit. I mean, could we remake some kind of a version of it? We could. We kind of did with that, but without the bubble gum, But one way maybe, and I never have any spare time, but one way would be to use graphics and take the original images of SNit and do some sort of online animation with it and go rogue. That might be one way.
This is cosplay SNit.
Yes, exactly.
Make a SNit.
Put it on Adobe Character and just
That's actually kind of fun.
It would be interesting to know if the old puppet is somewhere. I did hear rumors that it was somewhere in the the YTV, the Chorus offices on display somewhere. But
I've heard that rumor too, but I've never seen. I've been to the Chorus office many times. I've looked, sort of wandered around trying to find it, but I never found it. But I've heard those rumors too. I've heard, but I don't know where it really ended up. I'm still fishing around with people, trying to find out.
Guys, okay, so public access TV, really cool concept. I love the name. It kind of reminds me of that Wayne's World like DIY television that I grew up like worshiping. And this is pre-YouTube, of course. But were there any public access shows that you guys fondly remember watching back in the day?
Oh man!
Oh, you mean like the other shows that are like this?
Yeah, local television.
I don't know. I mean, the first I really watched of this kind of thing was YTV. Like it's not for kids TV. It's not normal to do anything like this because I actually remember I told you we tried to do something like this in the US, right? It was pretty good. It turned out really great. It was on Fox Family Channel, but. Americans are, the Fox, they're scared to death of lawsuits. So we were constantly had lawyers breathing down our throat of what we can say, what we can't say, and what we could air, what we couldn't air. YTV, it was just like, just don't swear and you're fine. And we got to do anything we wanted. And that's never going to happen again because even after we left, it was much more controlled.
Yeah.
So,
well, Rob and I were mentioning, like in the early days, the 90s were the Wild West, but then in, the late 90s, early 2000s, it just seemed a lot more polished and a lot more, the formula was made and they weren't going to break from it. There was no Bill Murray, aka Phil Guerrero, improv classes.
It was a magic time, as we all know this. I mean, it's just it's not. The only way it happens now is through YouTube and the internet, which is wonderful, which is great, and the internet has given Ryan Stick his own show, and it's an awesome show. And
thanks, buddy.
If it was YTV in the 90s, you would have got in easy. I would have definitely tried to get you in.
And I would have been much older than I am now, apparently, but that would have been awesome. I would have. God, what would I do? Like everyone's like, oh, what would you do if you had a DeLorean, a time machine? I'm like, I would seriously go back to 1986 and open a Blockbuster and have a 10-year plan and get the F out. You know what I mean? Everyone's like buying Microsoft. I'm like, no, all my plans are temporary. I know exactly when all these businesses are going to go belly up and I know when to get in, when to get out. That's exactly what I would do. And I would also become a millionaire. And then I would become a YTV host and they wouldn't be able to say no to me because I bought the station. But yeah,
that thing you probably could have. It wouldn't have cost very much.
No. By the way, Atul, thank you so much for saying that. It always makes me. Oh, hey, but PJ Ryan. Yeah, thanks, Eric. I should call myself PJ Ryan on this thing. You know what? I'm going to do that right now.
You should actually, and you know what? You should be an honorary PJ. I anoint you honorary PJ.
If SNit is anointing me, I am.
On that really positive note, I'm really sorry, but I got to run.
Oh, no problem, man.
But I always love being on the show, and it's nice to connect with Rob. I'm looking forward to our shoot, and maybe we'll have a follow-up and talk about what we actually did afterwards. Would that be cool?
Absolutely. And right before we go, the last thing I just want to say, so I could like totally blow smoke up your butt on the air in front of all these people, is that you did have a voice disguiser back then, but that's how you and Phil were so natural because you didn't spend all your time trying to talk out of your nose. And to do that now would seem you would lose that. You would be so concentrated on doing a funny voice as opposed to doing a performance. And everybody out there, if you loved Phil and SNit back in the day, you were just witnessing two friends having fun. And I'm so glad that these friends are back together on public access TV, and we're all going to be tuning in. So thank you so much for stopping by for a bit, man.
Well, thanks for having me, and and thanks, Rob, for bringing Phil and I together again. That was really wonderful. All right, have a great rest of the show, and I look forward to the follow up.
Awesome, man.
Okay,
have a good one, buddy. Thanks a lot. Man, legend, ladies and gentlemen. You just heard from a legend, the man behind SNit, not only a talented puppeteer, but an amazing writer, an amazing producer. Like, Atul is a force of nature. And the fact that he doesn't get the recognizable, the recognition, not only in his work, but facial recognition, because he's always hiding behind a puppet, is astounding. So I'm glad you're going to be going a little bit behind the scenes and that kind of stuff, and seeing about what their friendship makes them tick. Everybody out there, considering me and Rob are here, Rob is an old school YTV fan, just like me. And, we're going to be talking about our favorite shows, because I think that would be the great thing. Rob, what year were you born in?
I was born in 81. So, yeah.
So you got 3 years on me. So you experienced the craze and the Camp Caribou and all those other shows that are just a little out of my reach,
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can't do that on television. It's amazing what 3 years can do, right? Mm-hmm. When you're a kid, 10 to 13, so different. But oh wow, we got all these wonderful comments. All right, so you know what? As I look through these comments, Rob, I want to know what was your what was your zone? What was your after school? What you thought of was a great lineup of shows.
Oh, gee. Well, back then it was all about kind of like Power Rangers, and I think Sailor Moon was the big thing that they were airing. I think Phil keeps mentioning Count Duckula. That was like a thing that aired then. But really, like, I would rush home from school just to watch Phil. That was it. And I started watching Phil back before SNit was even a part of the routine. Phil used to do the Zone segment with like the Grog characters, and it would be him at a desk and a puppet. And all he would do is try to tear the puppeteer. Like, the puppeteer would be trying to tell a story, and he'd be like, no, and like trying to hint that there's somebody under the desk. And yeah, I got to see the evolution of Phil, going through what he was doing from puppets and then they just gave up on the puppets. He hated the puppets.
Yeah.
So it was just him alone. And the Zone was like, he was in the Zone set, and there was a TV screen that showed what was happening in the room. It was like a shot of the camera. And then eventually they decided, let's give him a puppet again. And they turned that TV screen into SNit. It used to just be a TV screen with a countdown clock. So Phil knew when the show was starting.
We were this Atul. I have a two-parter with him, I think. Yeah, a two-parter. And we go through all these clips and all this stuff. And he was really saying how Phil at first was very reserved and did not want more puppet. And it kind of strained the potential of their budding friendship right in the beginning there. But it's really cool. Like, when I think of the Zone, and I know I keep showing this image, everybody, but I didn't grab a zillion images, because these days when it comes to the broadcast, I like keeping it a little loose as opposed to the insane amount of editing that the old episodes used to have. When I look at this, I'm like, this is YTV when I was firing on all cylinders in the Zone aspect. But there's other parts of it too. Like, I have so much love for the hit list and video and arcade top 10. By the way, go to retrokid.ca, even though they're not a sponsor, I am a lover of all things retrokid.ca. I just, when I think of the Mount Rushmore and YTV, like, Phil and SNit are intertwined. And it's funny because Phil was on the air years before there was a SNit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And yet at the same time, you could show the image of Phil and SNit multiple places across the country, and it brings smiles and joys to multiple people. Were you ever a little intimidated working with Phil and SNit, considering that we grew up worshiping them?
Yeah, I've always been like my own productions. I try to bring in people that I always wanted to work with, and I'm one of these people that just jump into it and I ask. Like the whole reason why Phil and Atul came onto my show is because I phoned Phil. We had interviewed him on one of my other shows one time. I phoned him up and I just asked him point blank over the phone, "Hey, do you want to be the host of one of my shows?" And he was like, "Yeah, but I need one thing." And I'm like, "Okay, what's that one thing?" And he's like,
a pound of heroin.
No, he's like, SNIT has to come with me or I'm not doing it. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Let's start building a puppet.
Oh my God.
But originally I offered it to Phil, and then he brought Atul in with him, and I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Hey, we got all these great comments and stuff. Oh, by the way, this is last year. I got to say, everybody, just for perspective, last year or the year prior, Atul and Phil were on the show, and we're talking with them, talking about all courses, cool stuff, Anti-Gravity Room, which go back an episode. I interviewed Nick from Anti-Gravity Room and went through all the nitty gritty. It was great. But also I had in secret contacted PJ Katie and was orchestrating her coming on and like doing this big surprise thing. And it had been years since she'd come on camera, and it went really well. But the funny thing is, reading this comment, Danzel, I got to say thank you so much for saying all this, because it's such a nice thing to say. Thank you very much. So got to say, Ryan, the interview of Phil and Atul and Jenny Katie was one of the greatest nostalgia reunions I've ever seen, because Phil pounding shots, Atul bleeding out, and Katie's farm animals. It truly had it all. I almost forgot that Atul cut his hand really badly right before we went live, and Phil was just downing alcohol, and PJ Katie still had her original farm animal. So thank you so much. Those comments made my day, because for reasons of preserving my psychological happiness, I have grown to have the memory of a goldfish and have forgotten every other day except the one I'm living in, as a way to cope with the last 2 years. After the world gets back, I will retain memory again. But until then, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But yeah, we got all these wonderful comments. I mean, you must be very excited that public access TV is coming back, and you're working with these two gentlemen again, huh?
Well, when the show got canceled, like we were on Rogers, like local channels in Toronto and Ottawa when it was originally airing, and when it got canceled, it was kind of like a big bummer for us. The funny part is somebody on the inside of Rogers sent us numbers, and public access TV was actually one of the highest rated shows on the channel. And instead of kind of like making it bigger or making us kind of a bigger part of it, they said, "Oh, let's cancel it," because we were actually producing it independently out of my studio and not actually out of the Rogers location. So it was kind of not one of their babies, it was our baby. And and they decided to cancel, and that was a bummer. But it's nice to be able to kind of bring it back like full force.
Yeah,
and we're going to bring it back bigger. We're planning on not just kind of focusing on Canada. We're going to be focusing on trying to get it, out there bigger. And the platform that we're on now, Viewistic.com, is all about kind of promoting things, distributing things, and getting it seen.
I wrote it right. I wrote it correctly, right? Viewistic.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and
right,
that's what's there.
There's no H in there or anything. I'm just making sure. Okay.
But yeah, they're going to be it's broadcasting right now. If you want to check out kind of the past episodes of public access TV, they're rolling on a 24-hour channel of its own.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating.
And
I know nothing about Viewistic.com.
Well, it's brand new. They launched on Valentine's Day, and they have their own broadcast live stream TV platform, and they're going to be adding more and more channels to it. And they also have their own on-demand stuff, but they're also a distributor. So they're going to be taking content that they kind of partner with and align with and distributing on just about every platform they can get it on, right? So it's going to be kind of a great kind of partnership that we're going to be having with the show and them. And they're airing some of my other past shows as well, which is great. And I'm interested to see how far we can reach with it and how many viewers we can actually get eyeballs on it.
Of course. And this being the second time around, there's kind of like, all right, first time, we're just trying it out. This time, there's a focus, there's a plan, and there's a but I like the fact that it's that readily available to people. I mean, that's super fun. I like the, sometimes we all take advantage of the fact. And by the way, there's this awesome chat going on YouTube right now. So everybody, if you're watching on Facebook, if you want to go over to YouTube, there is like an active chat where people are talking about, I liked it better before. It's just like Carlos was cool. And talking about Sugar being Sailor Mini Moon and all that. I love that. Keep it up. Everything you want to do, talk about, geek out. This is the whole reason why we're here. It's you, me, or we, and YTV today. And it's it's just great. I love people reliving the memories, keeping these memories alive. I mean, we were talking before the show that essentially if a YouTube series like Retro Ontario and a bunch of others didn't have these tapes, essentially some of these memories would be lost, or in only the stories would be only through our words, so you wouldn't be able to see any of it.
That's kind of one of the positive things about bringing this back is we recorded so much of them, and they just go when they do the show, they just keep going and going and going, and until you tell them to stop. But I have so much material that I'm going to be able to kind of bring to the people, stuff that, Phil and Atul together doing their thing. There's so much of the original classic stuff that's like gone forever that you're never going to see again. So kind of bringing back them, in our show, Public Access TV, will at least kind of allow people to kind of watch more of what they used to love again. The best part about Public Access TV, instead of them throwing to cartoons, they throw to like user submitted content. So instead of sending like a letter in for Phil to read, you can actually send them your music video, your show, and they'll throw to your program. And he's in between people's viewers, creators, content, which is great. So we can expose and promote all sorts of kind of people through the show.
Amazing. You were mentioning sometimes if you didn't see it, it's gone. Is there a particular moment that you can remember from the zone with involving SNit and Phil that never made it to YouTube? Because I can name a few.
Oh man, there's so many. There was just like segments where Phil would just be playing his guitar, and I know there's one or two guitar things, but I remember he did a whole 3-hour thing where it was just literally him jamming the whole like 3-hour time slot. I think this clip actually did appear, but there was this one segment I remember where they were doing like stupid crafts, and they were using like toilet paper roll to make binoculars, but they didn't really do it right. I think that clip is out there. So I remember maybe seeing it, but that's one of the ones that kind of stands out to me. But I cared more about the in-between stuff than the actual shows that I was watching.
I didn't, because sometimes those shows were just so good. Like, when you have Samurai Pizza Cats and Power Rangers within the little gap of time between each other, it's just a damn good afternoon. I mean, I just remember being so stoked to go home and watch things, and then it was like the expression, the water cooler shows, where it's like, oh yeah, it's where you discuss. It's like the playground shows were like beasties. It's like, oh my god, you see what happened to Optimus Primal last night? It's like he's changing he merged with Optimus Prime. What the hell is going on? So that stuff. Oh, okay, we have a whole bunch of stuff here. Okay, it's like Denzel was asking, I recall seeing, is this the same show that they did together a few years ago? Yes, it is, but it's bigger and badder, and this time it's personal, and dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, and other Bill Murray isms. I gotta get a better monitoring system, because now that I'm looking at my own comments and stuff, it's either look down here, which is terrible, or look over there like Mr. Magoo.
Yeah, I'm glad people remember the show.
Yeah,
the Rogers put us in like a late night time slot because we were doing inappropriate stuff, so they couldn't actually air it during the day. So we ended up being like their late night show, their cool late night show. So, yeah.
Another cool thing. Okay, I'll bring this up because I remember this fondly. When the movie The Crow was coming out, Phil Guerrero was all over that, being part of the anti-gravity room. I mean, he literally interviewed James O'Barr, but he knew all about prior, and he was a big Brandon Lee fan. So he was featuring this thing where he went to a haunted house, and this fake crappy bird was like literally showing him where to get the boots and the makeup like in the movie. And I remember thinking, wow, the Crow looks awesome. I was 10. I should not have known what the Crow was. But sure enough, I knew what the Crow was, and I talked to the cool kid at school that knew about the Crow comic book, and he's like, "Hey, check out this comic book, this rated R book full of murder." But it's funny though, because Phil didn't have that like safety net, thinking 3 times about everything. He was just this cool, relatable older brother that just never seemed fake, and I think that authenticity really translated into his audience, because it's kind of like when like, this is the Ramones, they sound like this because they can't sound like anything else, and insert other band who wishes they were the Ramones. You're all rich, but you're trying to suck because it's cool. You know what I mean?
Phil is Phil. Like the way he is on screen, that's the way he is when he's off screen. He's not playing a character. He's not putting on an announcer voice or a host persona. Like, that's him. And beyond public access TV, I've had the opportunity to work with him like several times on other different projects, and he brings just that same energy to everything, and he finds a way to make stuff better. He basically takes whatever your idea is and he kind of tears it apart, puts it in a different order, and he makes it better. He honestly makes everything that he touches better.
Absolutely. And by the way, big shout out to Ryan Lint here. Ryan Lint is a big reason why there are so many episodes of Radioactive on TV and on YouTube. And it took, back in the day, it took that dedication to like plan your life around the fact that you were going to like, pre-record your VCR or be home when something was on. Like, in hindsight, I hope everybody out there realizes that if they didn't record that at that certain day when it came to Canadian content, that crap might be gone forever. It seems like in America, they just, they celebrate the nostalgia of their pennies. You know what I mean? Like, everything out there, it's just like preserved and cherished. Like, guys, remember the 70s, remember the 80s, remember the 90s. But in Canadian content, it's like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think they're embarrassed about it, but they definitely don't put as much thought into it as or stakes into it as much as the audience does. We have so many questions. We have so many comments. This is awesome. They're having conversations. They're saying nice things. You know what? Let's show them another clip of public access TV, the former season, to kind of like, show them exactly what they can be expecting, seeing that natural chemistry that Atul and we'll call him Snit, that Snit-ish and Phil having, what they bring to the table. Let's look at this right now.
TV.
See, just seeing them together is amazing.
I do.
I don't even want to call it work.
It's not work.
It's not work.
It's everything but. In fact, it reminds me of the kind of quote-unquote work we used to do about a decade ago.
Oh, you mean on another show we used to do together?
That's right. And that brings me to our little artifact we brought for you today from 1995.
This is comedy gold, my friends.
It was a list of ideas that we came up with back in '95 that we put on a thing called the think tank. Anybody remember the think tank? Oh, there it is.
This is comedy gold, my friends. Oh, it's upside down.
Oh,
this is comedy gold, my friends.
He's already funny. He put it upside down.
I don't even want you to. The HD is so clear that they'll be able to read it, capture it, freeze it, and write a movie. Here's another look. Those were all our ideas. Let's show them. Okay. Let's pick one. Pick one.
Okay, let's see. How about open forum?
Open forum. Okay. Now, this idea is a very interesting one, because what we did was, we did this thing called open forum when we're absolutely too lazy to think of anything to do.
And we
so
just
open
talk
forum,
about
you can just talk
anything.
about whatever, which is pretty much what we do now.
Yeah, but it was we labeled it a special segment.
So really, we really saw the future of television.
And web content.
With open forum.
So let's go to web content.
No!
I
want to talk a second. Okay, let's go to web content.
Okay.
And they just keep going. They would go, like, we would do takes and they would just go. Like, we had a rough plan. Like, originally when I created the show, they actually appeared on the show in the second season. We had different hosts in the first season. But when we brought Phil and Atul in for season 2, like, I had like the plots written for the show, and it would all get thrown out the window, and they would improvise, and it was amazing. And they would just keep going, and there's so much material that never even made it to air that we're going to be bringing through, and then we're going to be shooting new stuff as well. It's going to be fun to do, fun to work on again.
Amazing. Hey man, thanks a lot for reaching out. Of course, I wasn't sure if you're familiar with the program and what we do here, but it's always nice when someone's like, "Hey, it's coming back. Do you want to talk about it?" And I'm just like, man, that is so much nicer than me just messaging people and begging them to be on. So I appreciate it.
I'm one of your subscribers. Been watching it for a while. It's awesome what you do. And you were talking about the segment that you did with Phil, Atul, and PJ Katie. That was amazing to watch. So it's great that you're out there doing this, bringing these people back, especially like people that who know, like, where'd they go? you're talking to people that who knows where they are right now, and bringing them back. It's amazing, and you're doing like an awesome job with your channel and your show.
Thanks a lot, man. That means the world to me. Now, you are 3 years older than me, but in kid years, that might as well be a decade, because when you're 10 and 13, tastes change. I asked you before some of your favorite shows, and you mentioned you really like the segments the most. But let's just geek out with the audience right now. What are some of YTV shows that you loved that come to mind particularly?
Oh man,
in no order, just whatever.
In no order. Gee,
Yeah.
They had so much. Like you were talking about Beast Wars Beasties, that was a hell of a show. Reboot was like a big thing. I used to love that show. I still watch. I think Reboot appeared on, I forget what platform, Amazon or something like that recently. Ended up going through and just watching them all the way through again. But like the cutting edge kind of 3D animation that they were doing at that time, and that was all through YTV that stuff was being produced too, which it was kind of like remarkable.
YTV was like, just, they needed content, man. And they were so important about how they brought anime to North America because they needed stuff, and it was all originally dubbed in English in Vancouver. And Ian James Corlett, who played Cheetor, he was like one of the first producers of the anime stuff that was coming in. So, before his voice was the first adult Goku and many other characters, he was a producer on it too. But I interviewed the co-creator of Reboot on my other channel, and he was mentioning how, they started off their animation with that Money for Nothing, Dire Straits song. Money for nothing and the chicks for free. That little bit of animation, they figured, oh my God, maybe we could do an actual show. And that's how Reboot started. It's funny though, because the audience will light up with this, but it's not a lot of them. There was a reboot, with they pretty much pulled a Jumanji reboot where a bunch of kids could just go in the game.
It was Power Rangers, but with Reboot, right?
Or Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. Because it was they morph into the Reboot world or something, and there's a big server. I watched that, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like Reboot.
I know, but is it none of our business, or is it just it's for the next generation? That Absolutely. Happens all the time. I haven't seen the new Are You Afraid of the Dark because I don't think it's any of my business. It's not that I want to go purposely shit on it. It's just Ross and the gang, Gary and the gang. Those are mine. So I don't know. Maybe,
the Goosebumps was kind of like the next generation of Are You Afraid of the Dark, right? Because it felt like the same style of production, right?
My dog is hilariously pulling on wires in the other room. 1 second, I have to ask my sweetie. The dog is wrapped up in wires, and I can't stop. Poor dog. Morgan from Radioactive, ladies and gentlemen, is rescuing a dog right now. All right. So sorry about that. But it's so interesting to see the evolution of children's programming and how YTV just needed content, so they would take risks that other channels wouldn't, especially in the States. I mean, the States are like, oh, look how well this did in Canada. We could do it here too. And a lot of that stuff, a lot of those shows we all know and love, it's all homegrown talent, voice-wise. Samurai Pizza Cats were all Montreal voice actors. Sailor Moon, they're all Toronto-based actors. Beast Wars was in Vancouver. It's nuts, man. I mean,
the X-Men cartoon had Canadian voices?
Toronto.
Yeah. And
Toronto, Cal Dodd, great guy.
Yeah, and I know some of the people that did some of the, various X-Men voices from those days. I
Yeah.
watched it, and then, when I went through film school when I was younger, I met a few of them. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I did that voice." I'm like, "Oh my god, that's crazy."
I know. But to me, as self-deprecating Canadian, I was like, there's no way all this great. I wish I was American. All this great stuff comes here, and they just let us have it. Like Canadian Idol, they just let us have it. It's like, no, it originated in here, and we gave it to them. So, I kind of wish that was more of the popular consensus of the talent that we actually grow here.
There's so many great people doing so much stuff that's amazing, and it just doesn't get seen. And that's kind of what we're doing with public access TV. That's what Viewstic is trying to do.
Yeah,
get more cool stuff seen, especially Canadian stuff. And then just the amount of talent that we have here, based on the size of our population, is crazy. Like some of the stuff that. And I work with people. I work with so many amazing, talented people, like all the time. People from the past, I try to kind of work with, especially the ones that I really liked. And it's always fantastic. They're always like, it's not like they have big attitudes. They're always really great people, fun to work with.
Yeah.
I just wish people got more recognition. Especially these kind of heroes, my heroes from the past.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm trying to work with them as well too, to see if maybe I can help them get, more notice again.
Of course, Phil should be in one of the biggest stars in the world. I mean, that guy.
Why is he not?
That guy is like a high functioning Forrest Gump when it comes to the achievements he's had, because he'll just fall into the fashion world and make metal punk rock vests for the top stars in the world, just like that. Like it's incredible how many things Phil Guerrero has actually done.
Yeah, when he sits down and he starts telling you about his life, it's just like, holy crap, like the stuff that he's done. But he doesn't really perceive it as like, oh, that's just something I did. Like he talks to you about stuff and your jaws drop about how amazing these things are, and to him it's just like, oh, well, that's the way my life goes. Yeah, and, like it's nothing, and it's just amazing. I really hope that like you start seeing him more in things. Like before we were talking about kind of bringing the show back, I've had a couple of conversations with Phil, and it sounds like Phil's like in the process of doing something, or something's about to happen with him, although he didn't go into details with me. So hopefully that means we'll be seeing him on bigger stations or something soon.
Absolutely, man. So it must be so cool to get in our crack at this public access TV, like with a plan. Because as an editor by trade, it's what I do in life. I'm always cutting together sequences and constantly thinking about the various multiple earths in which the cut could have went. And sometimes you just want another crack at it. So after all these years, I mean, what really made you say now's the time?
I always wanted to kind of bring it back. It was just about kind of finding a broadcaster that supported the show. And that's really what I've been looking for. It's weird. Like Canada's one of these places where you can knock on doors as an individual and get meetings places. But Canada's not a place that, well, at least it isn't anymore. Canada isn't the place where they take big risks on things. They used to. So it was just about finding the right broadcaster, the right platform, and that believes in the show, that would give us kind of free reign to do what we needed to do with it without having to kind of keep it in a little box. And
what's your brand?
What my brand?
Yeah. No. I mean, that's what they're always asking. What's your brand?
They want you to fit in a demographic. They want you to fit in a niche where public access TV, Phil and Atul are just two people that just need some runway to go. They get up to speed, and then it's everybody enjoys it.
Oh, here's a good one. And by the way, this is a good one. It blows my mind that YTV actually showed Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, or was that Teletoon? Either way, you know what? Teletoon's been awesome too. And Teletoon, I think, comes from the ashes of what YTV used to be, because like, you know, had YTV not been around doing its thing for so long, being able to produce children's television 24 hours a day, I don't think Teletoon could have sold themselves as easily. I mean, like, why was it only in the 2000s that an all cartoon network was in Canada? Just a thought. Guys, this has been great. I love seeing all the comments. I love seeing all the geeking out and stuff like that. May I just take the opportunity right now, if you haven't seen You, Me, and YTV before, and some people are new or haven't looked at our back catalog, both on YouTube and Facebook, we got years of conversations with wonderful people that don't get celebrated enough. A whole series of interviews with the cast of Student Bodies, and a reunion that we produced, a reunion little mini documentary we produced about their experience in Toronto a few years ago. It's just been absolutely lovely. And you know what I loved about the public access TV, that the clips we were just watching, and just in general, is I love how you actually didn't it's not over edited, and when it is edited, it actually kind of feels like it should have been back then. Like, it's not full of glossy, glamorous, smoothed out CGI. I'm pretty sure that would have killed what the song you were trying to write or rewrite.
We were going for a specific feel. I wanted it to feel more like The Zone, and but we kind of did our own thing, but still brought that kind of emotion and feeling back through it. So yeah.
You know what, Bernadette, you inspired me. I'm gonna find the old clip of I'm gonna go find the old recording of the Phil, Atul, and PJ Katie reveal. We'll just put that up because it was a long conversation. People have our stuff to do, but anyway, if they want to go backtrack, both the You, Me, and YTV episodes, they're heavily edited, a lot of care put into it, behind the scenes secrets of a bunch of amazing shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark, Reboot, Beasties, you name it, like a lot of stuff. But also, if you want to look at old episodes of public access television, it's a YouTube page called Public Access TV. How do you spell it? How do you spell
it's
the YouTube
Public
page?
Access TV, the word dot, and then CA, but you can watch it on viewistic.com. It's on a 24-hour streaming broadcast channel right now on that platform, and it's its own 24-hour channel. So we've loaded most of the episodes on there on a loop, and we're going to be loading more stuff and then new content probably mid-March. You're going to start seeing that.
Awesome, man. Well, what do we got here? My YouTube name is actually inspired by knighthood, in case anyone didn't notice. The intro for that show was a work of art. I did get Nicholas Pickles on. Yes, I did. I had Nicholas Pickles on a 2-part episode. We go into how we got the role, how he was a DJ on Friday night, and they would film all Saturday, and he'd have 3 hours of sleep and could read a teleprompter like a mother. Like, he really went there, man. Are you having fun, Rob? Do you want to?
Yeah. And your Video and Arcade Top 10, which you're just mentioning, unbelievable show.
I know.
I actually have a story about that.
Please.
So there used to be this studio called Pie Man Studios, and that's where Video and Arcade Top 10 actually produced for all those years. And I was actually producing a television show at the time, and we actually got to shoot in that very same studio. And it was around the end of Video and Arcade Top 10, and so I was basically in the studio, and they gave us like a piece of the studio, but I needed the whole studio. And I went to like the head up people there, and I'm like, we need the whole studio, and they're like, but we're gonna have to dismantle the Video and Arcade Top 10 set. And they're like, we've never done that. It's been put up once, and it's been there forever. And I'm like, I need the space. And they dismantled the Video and Arcade Top 10 set, and then the show was canceled. So I feel bad that I told them to take it down, because they never ended up putting it back up afterwards, and that was the end of the show. So I feel terrible. That's kind of my Video and Arcade Top 10 story.
That's a horrible story.
I made them tear down the set, and I ruined their luck, their streak.
Well, yeah, but even Nicholas. Even Nicholas Pickles was saying, it's just like, games were changing. They were becoming much more adult. It was a kids show. They couldn't show Grand Theft Auto and all those other new wave of kids games. It wasn't all about Mario. So the majority of the games coming out were, And you weren't allowed to use weapons in some games and all that
But
stuff.
just the
There's a lot.
longevity of that show, like how long it was on the air for, it was unbelievable. That's the type of show that you could probably bring back now for an older audience. And that's the thing with public access TV. We brought it back for the grown-ups because we're grown-ups now.
Yeah, of course.
People that enjoyed watching it. Now you can watch Phil be, beyond G-rated, PG-rated, not quite R-rated, but
yeah,
grown-up Phil.
Well, this show, by necessity, like I recall, there's different waves of Yumi and YTV. There's like the beginning one where everything was recorded over Skype and edited to the wazoo, clip. Apologies to Retro Ontario, by the way. I was like one of those dickheads in the early days before I realized the effort it took to put a clip on YouTube and preserve a clip. I was like just ripping from any YouTube page and would not show the logo. So, seriously, kids, I am so sorry about that. There are a lot of things. I've fallen asleep. I've fallen asleep at family Christmas parties due to alcohol that I am less sorry about than taking people's clips and not crediting them properly. So, full disclosure right there. But the old YTV shows were just, you mean YTV shows just edited like crazy. But then when the pandemic happened, by necessity, to not go crazy, we're just like, we got to do something. And it was my birthday. And we're like, well, we might as well go on for my birthday. And we're like, before we had this technology, we're like, how do we get a guest on our live camera? And look, spending days figuring it out. And you seem to be someone that loves the process of making things, and making sure it works. Did the process for making public access television come quite simply, or given it was your stuff, was there a trial and error process of elimination?
Well, we didn't have a big studio to begin with, so we put it on green screen out of necessity.
Nice.
And then, we built a 3D virtual set, which at that time it was something that I'd never done before. And I teamed up with like a 3D animator, and then we tried to create something.
Yeah.
And the goal for the set was for it to look cartoony a little bit, but like grungy and like old, like it got all rusty because it hadn't been used for a while. But yeah, it was kind of a fun, process, for that. And I think it worked.
Awesome. I'm loving this chat. Seriously, guys, that's why we're doing this. I'm just reading. I'm just like, oh man, it's always awesome. Imagine if VNR Cape Top 10 actually got sponsored by Nintendo in Canada or something. It's crazy because Nicholas told me a story where when Nintendo 64 came out, they didn't even have like the 64 system yet, or the games. Sometimes they'd come with like a disc and plug it in, and people were, because they wanted to give Video Arcade Top 10 like the exclusive. And oh my god, like I know you're a little older than me, but I gotta say, when Nintendo 64 came out, it just kicked my ass. I'll never forget that time of my life when Video Arcade Top 10, when seeing Mario on Video and Arcade Top 10 be 3D for the first time. It was just like,
that was unbelievable. That game, that was the game I played till I finished it. Like that was, other than watching Phil, it was playing my Nintendo 64. The games on that system. I still have my 64. I never got rid of it. I kept all my games.
Same.
And I even have all the original cardboard boxes and inserts and everything for them. I saved it all because it just meant so much to me, that system.
All right, we're going to be going in just a few minutes, folks, because it's just about that time. It's been that hour, but it's been lovely. Rob, it's been lovely getting to know you. I would love, I can't wait to see the new episodes. I'm going to be watching the old episodes on Viewistic.com, a public access TV, and see SNit and Phil, well, Snitish, do their thing. There's got to be some clever way of calling it, like
it's the real SNit. It's a tool. It's
what a great a tool. What a creative force in nature, but also a warm blanket. Like he's just so kind. I haven't seen him in a year, and I look in his eyes today. I'm just like, you're what I'm missing. Right, this year is going to be lovely. Yeah. So for a man who's hiding behind a puppet all the time, it's it's
We're
always
gonna
lovely to
we're gonna
see.
get him in front of the camera. I have plans to have both him and Snit on screen at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have him beside himself. We'll try that out. See how that works.
Sorry, my dog's going nuts. Yeah, every time we go broadcast, he always goes crazy. But right before we go, just to finish, it's everybody watching right now. Thanks very much for tuning in. We didn't do a zillion episodes this year. The first year of pandemic, we did so many episodes, and Melissa Galliano, she was one of the actors that was one of the characters on Radioactive. She played someone named Morgan. She's a multi-talented person, and she made me puppets for my birthday one year. And I walk in, and my family and friends have all been made into these puppets, and they're all singing "Happy Birthday" at once. And it's like something amazing to behold, but we still have all these puppets. Life goes on in the birthday. So one of the puppets, right before, dude, it was the coolest thing in the world. It was my birthday broadcast, and I'm about to do it by myself, and I'm just like, oh, wait, what if we use one of these puppets? Because on YTV, they had puppets. That'd be so cool. I've never had a puppet sidekick before. I want to have a puppet sidekick before. So I pick up one of them and quickly, as fast as humanly possible, shove a t-shirt, pillow into a t-shirt and fake some arms and put them on the leg. And I'm like, Mel, can you do a puppet voice? And she's like, can I? I'm like, no, just do something. And we are live in that first one, that first Nesbit. There was no planning. There was she made up the name, I think. Yeah, she made up the name and the voice right on the spot. I'm just asking her questions like, so where did you grow up? She comes up with all of it on the spot. And it's
was
insane.
Good. Those were some of the Wednesday shows. I was watching that.
Yeah.
Not long before we started this. It was fun to see the puppet.
There you go. All the Nesbit will be back when I don't have cool people like Rob here to talk to. But Rob, thanks so much for stopping by. Congratulations on getting the show back and how cool it is. And yeah, man, it's that's cool. Bring it up, Fuzzball Warren. I was such a big fan of Warren Chester Grog. There was this one time that Warren Chester Grog took over YTV on New Year's Day. And I was waiting for it. It was the coolest thing in the world because every time Phil would go off somewhere, Warren would look at the TV and be like, on New Year's Day, I'm taking over YTV. We were counting it down. My friend Marlon and I, we had a sleepover. We were waiting to watch. And naturally, it's just a day of programming that, the inserts are that. But we just loved it so much. It was so freaking awesome. Somebody link me that. I want to watch it again.
There was we were gonna bring a puppet character onto public access TV. But Phil decided that he didn't want it on the show, so we ended up axing it. And if anybody wants to see anything of that puppet character, his name is Larfax, and we actually did a pilot with him, and he's an R-rated puppet. You can just search Larfax on YouTube if you want to check out his stuff. Yeah, it's dark.
I'd love to see
dark stuff.
Well,
we ended up doing with that puppet. Yeah.
I think as long as puppets been around, there's always been some sort of dark parody of puppets. Like
absolutely.
Peter Jackson's second movie is Meet the Feebles, and it's so weird.
It's the most messed up, Muppet style, just massacre movie I've ever seen. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, what's that one that came out a few years ago? Brian Henson's son directed. It was about the cop.
Yeah, I forget that one because it was the cop and Melissa McCarthy was like the partner.
Yeah.
It was like puppet murder, but hot something.
Hot Fuzz or something.
No, it involved puppet murders.
Yeah. Oh, the Muppet Time Murder, the Puppet Time Murders. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, people are watching all. I'm like, oh, this is so out there. I'm like, you have not seen Meet the Feebles, okay? Meet the Feebles will make you won't be able to eat afterwards. It is so.
Oh no.
Dark and sad.
And even the musical numbers in that movie are just like so far beyond what they should be. Yeah.
Oh, dude, more people should know about your channel. Yeah, story of my fucking life. Not for lack of trying. Seriously, always trying to spread the good word. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. It's awesome. Everybody here, thank you all to everyone who's been tuning in. It's been absolutely great. Rob, did you have fun today?
Oh, absolutely.
Me too. My hair is just growing in my face, and I keep trying to, it's got a life of its own. But we had fun today, and we learned a little something. We learned that we can watch our heroes on, on the internet again. The dog is still going crazy, and and we got to have a nice conversation and geek out, and that's what we're going to do from now on, everybody, regardless of who the guest is. We're going to be going live on Wednesdays, and I want that chat to be doing the same thing because it's super fun to see everybody geeking out together. I think that's what it's all about. That's the playground chat. That's like, the water cooler equivalent of the conversations we all used to have back in the day. And now I'm reading it from all places in Canada. This is absolutely beautiful. Rob, thanks so much for coming by, man. This has been great. It's been having fun.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Cool. All right, Rob. So keep everybody in the loop. Let's keep touch base when it comes to the brand new episodes. Let us know when they're coming out. And yeah, man, thanks so much for stopping by. And to all the YTV fans out there that like this show, tell a friend. We're going old school, okay? There's no Twitter. There was no Messenger. There's none of that stuff. Tell a friend about what you saw and that you liked it, because that's what we used to do in the 90s, and that's what we're going to do here. So thank you, everybody, for watching You, Me, and YTV. I am PJ Ryan Stick, and I got Rob here, the creative force behind the man with the plan behind the scenes beyond public access TV. Thanks so much for stopping by, dude. All right, now I'm going to awkwardly. Oh, I'm not going to awkwardly on the broadcast. I'm going to play my outro. Yeah, we're fancy here. All right, take it easy.
Did you grow up in Canada? Were you alive in the 90s? Did you love YTV? Yeah, you did.